This is Copper 90, and these are our top 10 crazy transfers that almost happened. Falcao to Aston Villa. It may be hard to believe now, but there was once a time when Radamel Falcao was undoubtedly one of the world's best strikers, which makes it all the more shocking to know that Aston Villa passed up the chance to sign him in 2008 for just under £10 million. Then manager Martin O'Neill instead opted for the tried and tested, proven world-class striker Emile Heskey. This proved decisive, as Heskey then went on to score just 9 goals in 92 matches. Yaya Toure to Arsenal. Ever since Patrick Vieira left, Arsenal have been crying out for that power midfielder in the mould of Yaya Toure, and back in 2003, they almost had their man. At just 20 years old, Toure had a trial match for the Gunners and was apparently keen on joining. Wenger had other ideas though, reportedly insisting on playing the Ivorian up front instead of his desired central midfield position. When Toure told Wenger he could become better than Patrick Vieira in midfield, Wenger apparently said, "No, it's impossible." After passport and work permit problems, the chance to sign Yaya faded, and he ended up joining Ukrainian club Metalurg Donetsk. Neymar to Real Madrid. You look at Neymar now, what with his world-beating forward partnership with Luis Suarez and Leo Messi, and the last thing you'd expect is to see him in a Real Madrid shirt. But would you believe that Neymar technically signed for Real Madrid in 2006? Aged just 14, Neymar had a 2-week trial at Madrid's training ground and even played in a match at the end of the 05-06 season. But despite his obvious talent, then Real Madrid chairman Fernando Martin didn't take the advice of the sporting director to fork out the €60,000 Neymar's agent Wagner Ribeiro was asking for. In the end, Neymar went back to Santos, where he eventually made his name. And when Europe came calling once more, it wasn't just Real Madrid that were interested, and this time it was Barcelona who got his signature. Bale to Birmingham. PFA Player of the Year, 2 times Champions League winner, Real Madrid superstar, and, at one point, a flop who almost signed for Birmingham City. Yep, you heard that right. Back in 2009, after a torrid first 2 years at Spurs, in which he played a record 24 league matches for them without being on the winning side, Bale was close to being shipped out of the club for a measly £3 million. Alex McLeish's Birmingham City side were hot favourites to sign the youngster, and they would have if it weren't for an injury to Benoit Asu-Okoto. His absence meant that Bale started on the left-hand side and managed to taste victory for the first time as a starter in January 2010. And as they say, the rest is history. Ronaldinho to St Mirren. Take one of the most audaciously gifted and skillful players the world has ever seen and put him in a town in the lowlands of Scotland, and you've got yourself a football marriage made in transfer rumour heaven. Except this wasn't a rumour. Ronaldinho to St Mirren was almost a reality. Genuinely. 1 year before the 2002 World Cup, Ronaldinho was looking for a way out of Gremio. Though PSG were interested and seemed a more likely permanent destination, the Brazilian preferred a loan move to help him acclimatise to European football, and Scottish side St Mirren stepped in. It was all set, a sensational coup for Scottish football. Surely nothing could go wrong. Well, it turns out Ronnie was involved in a fake passport scandal back in Brazil, and the deal fell through at the last minute. Michael ESSIEN to Burnley. At the tender age of 17, and having just shone for Ghana at the Under-17 World Championships, Michael ESSIEN almost signed for Burnley on a free transfer after a successful trial period. The midfielder, who later moved to Chelsea for £24.4 million, was offered to the Clarets in 1999, only for the deal to fall through because of a Burnley club policy to not pay youngsters more than £60 per week. In hindsight, it's a shame that the albeit admirable policy of not paying kids too much couldn't have been manipulated just a little bit to help sign a future world beater. C'est la vie. Figo to Juventus. Portugal legend Luis Figo spent a solid decade in Spain, breaking records, winning titles, and tearing up defences. It could have been all so different in 1995, as he signed a contract with both Parma and Juventus. If he chose just one club, he would almost certainly not have joined Barcelona. But the greedy, talented bugger signed contracts with both clubs and unintentionally caused an Italian 2-year transfer ban on him. With his path to Italy now blocked for 2 seasons, now was the time to pounce for Barcelona, who got his signature for a quite ridiculous £2.25 million. Zinedine Zidane to Blackburn. Let's just set the scene. It's 1995, and manager Kenny Dalglish has highlighted French midfielder Zinedine Zidane as a potential target to bolster his midfield. Blackburn chairman Jack Walker looks at Dalglish bemused, stating, "Why do you want to sign Zidane when we have Tim Sherwood?" Though this exchange apparently did happen, We're not 100% sure because, quite frankly, it's bonkers that anyone would actually say this. Unfortunately for the Rovers, Zidane didn't hang about and ended up joining Juventus, winning the World Cup, European Cup and Ballon d'Or in the next 5 years. And to think he could have had a jolly up in midfield alongside Tim Sherwood. Robert Lewandowski to Blackburn. Before the outrageous records and 5 goals in 9 minutes madness that we all know Bayern striker Robert Lewandowski for, there was a time when he was heading to Premier League mediocrity. Eyeing up a move away from Polish side Lech Poznan, Lewandowski was set to fly over to hold talks with and finalise a move to Blackburn Rovers in 2010. Asking for a puny €4 million for the striker, Blackburn were hesitant to commit. But the matter was taken out of their hands altogether when an Icelandic volcano erupted and produced the now famous ash cloud of 2010, suspending all travel across Western and Northern Europe. Lewa couldn't catch his flight and instead joined Dortmund on the path to goals, titles and records. Diego Maradona to Sheffield United. Yes, seriously. If Sheffield United were able to stump up the additional costs on top of the £200,000 deal, Diego Maradona would have been banging goals up front for the Blades in 1978. Then boss Harry Haslam was so impressed by a 17-year-old Diego Maradona that he immediately arranged the £200,000 deal, only for it to fall through. This disappointment was the first of many in that period, as they then got relegated the next season. And to think, things could have been so different for Diego. That was Copper 90's top 10 craziest transfers that almost happened. Did we miss any? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.